Welcome to the All Trades Jack channel. I'm Reaction Jackson, and tonight we're talking about Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 5. This one's called The Story and the Engine. If I had to say what this was about using only 6 words, I'd say something like, a storyteller usurps his creation's divinity. That's really what the story is about, but there's so much we have to talk about, so let's get right into it. The episode starts in the barbershop, and most of the episode will take place in the barbershop. It's not quite a bottle episode. There are a lot of different set pieces. There's a really beautiful marketplace. There's that really creepy back alley, and of course there's the TARDIS set, which we get to see some different lighting going on in the TARDIS, which was cool. There was a lot of Belinda being locked up in the TARDIS this episode, not getting to do much, which was unfortunate. But it got a chance to see some cool flashing red lights, so, I mean, that's something. But the scene in the cold open, it shows us a lot of the themes of the episode right away. It's setting up a lot of the stuff, and it's setting up a lot of the mechanics, even if we don't realize it right away. We get that storytelling is going to be a huge part of this, and especially, like, communal storytelling, like oral storytelling traditions. That's going to be a huge part of this. And also that there is the device of the windows lighting up with the stories, which we don't know necessarily in this scene. Maybe you picked up on it. I certainly didn't, that they could actually view this. I thought it was just an interesting, like, directorial choice to, like, have this very stylized illustration, pictographic thing showing the story the guy was telling. I thought it was interesting, but I didn't realize that they could all see that. That was really interesting. I liked how that played out throughout the episode, and it was good that they set this up in the cold open. So right away, we've got a lot of cool stuff going on. In that scene, he's talking about Omo, who I'm thinking we should probably mention real quick. Omo is played by the writer of this episode. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I think it's Inua Elams. I hope I'm saying that right. So that's really cool. The idea that the person who opens up the story is the storyteller, the person who wrote the story. So that's kind of cool. I think that's very fitting. Coming into the TARDIS scene though, after this, when we get started in the episode, we get back with Ncuti and Belinda. Obviously we didn't see them much last week, but we get back in step with them, and I was really thrown off by this TARDIS scene with them. They're talking about what their next plan is, and they're going to go to Lagos because I guess there's cell reception there. I wasn't really sure what the reason he gave. He gave a techno-babbly reason for why they needed to go there. There was like there's a big internet hub server thing there. I don't know. I have to go back and watch it again. I wasn't really sold him, but he wanted to go to his barbershop too. And that was the part that I was definitely paying attention to. He wanted to go to his barbershop, and he said some things in this part that I thought, well, that can't be correct. At first, I was just wondering, when have you gone to this barbershop? When have you had time? We've kind of seen Ncuti. He hasn't taken a lot of time off. But then I guess he did kind of take time off around Christmas. So who knows? I don't know what he was up to around that time frame when he was just kind of floating around with no companion. He could get around, obviously. But it still stuck out to me as weird because he said this line, and I wrote down it, or at least I wrote down it. I do these at 4 in the morning. I'm really sorry, guys, but I wrote it down. Or maybe I just paraphrased it. This is my first time in this black body. False. That's objectively false. And I was gonna give this a pass and say, okay, well, maybe, in saying this, he means this is his first lived experience in a black body, because even though he had been the fugitive doctor, he didn't really remember that because all of those memories were locked away inside of the watch, which Jodie hid inside the TARDIS. And as far as I know, nobody's opened up that watch and taken those memories out. However, later in the episode, we see the fugitive doctor. She comes back, which I was really stoked for. I was really excited to see her. I'm always excited to see her. But at the same time, it was like, you're speaking as her, which means you have those memories. So you have lifetimes that you remember now that you didn't have before? When did that happen? A. B, if that didn't happen, how do you remember these events and how can you recall them to Anasi's kid? And if you can remember these stories and you were the fugitive doctor back then how is this your first time living in a black body? That doesn't, I don't know, the whole thing just kind of stinks. Like, they wanted to have too many points. They wanted to have nostalgia points, and they wanted to have, like, the storytelling points. I don't know, it didn't work for me. It was trying to do too many things, and I don't know, it stretched credulity for me. Also in that scene, I guess another part that was messing me up in that scene was the music. The music, there was like this really big, like boisterous, like brass ensemble piece going on right there. It was a version of the Doctor's theme, I think, but I don't know. It was doing way too much. It was another one of those. We've complained about these throughout the season of parts where Murray Gold's doing way too much with the music in scenes that don't need it. And also, I'll throw out there, Belinda has mentioned another family member. We're getting a lot of tell, don't show with Belinda's family, right? Because we've now been told that she's got this mom who apparently plays violin, and she's got this dad who apparently does karaoke, and now she's got this nan. I can't remember what she said the nan and her did together. Or she references her nan a couple of times in the episode, because she references it in the TARDIS, and then she references her again in the hospital flashback. And I wouldn't be pointing this out, except we have a pattern now, because it's 3, and 3s are patterns. We have 3 examples of being told about a family member that we didn't get to see, and we've had opportunities, because we showed her house. And we made the choice as writers, we made the choice to make her live in this, this communal living situation with multiple flatmates and no family there. Okay, fine, got it. But then you also took the opportunity to do a flashback for the Doctor to tell a story about Belinda. And again, you could have shown her with her family, but you didn't, because Belinda's told the Doctor stories about her family. We've seen that. When did he have the time to hear this story? Because they haven't had a lot of time to chat. We've seen them pretty much the whole time this season, like going from one thing to the next, rolling over. This is all a pretty short period of time. When did they have this chat? We've seen them have chats about Belinda's mom and dad. That would have been an opportunity to show us this family, but instead it showed more of her work. And so far, wanting to go home and being a nurse is most of Belinda's character, and that's really starting to wear on me. In the first couple episodes, I was really excited by her, and I really liked the way that she was being portrayed, but 4 episodes on, it's starting to feel a bit thin. I really want a little bit more out of her, and I just feel like they're really missing opportunities to flesh her out and give her some breathing room. I really hope that we get something from her soon. If this follows kind of the previous season's pattern, there was a Dr. Light episode last week. This one was kind of companion light because Belinda was shut up in the TARDIS a lot of the time. And I'm thinking maybe there's going to be a Dr. Light companion heavy, perhaps, the way we had with 73 Yards. I don't know, that might be necessary at this point for me to get back on the same page as Belinda, because they haven't really given her much time to do stuff. I mean, even like, why was it the Doctor telling her story? Because she should be telling her story. You know, give her something to do. What did she do this episode? What did she contribute? She hit a bunch of buttons in the TARDIS that did nothing. Eventually the TARDIS let her out and showed her where to go, and she went there. And then what did she do this episode? You know? Nothing wrong with the performance, but there wasn't much to perform there, and that's really unfortunate. Like, at least let her tell her own story. If that's the whole thing of this episode, is telling stories, why not let the Doctor tell one of his own stories? And on that note, this whole thing is another cheap out where they're like, where RTD wants to take credit for not using Daleks and not using Cybermen and not using Weeping Angels, but he's going to keep referencing them. He's dangling them out there, referencing them, and referencing, what was the other one he referenced? Ice Warriors. So he's referenced 4 different aliens that, and I talked about this a bunch recently, and I know people are getting sick of me hearing this, but sick of me hearing this. Yeah, you guys are getting sick of me hearing this. That makes no damn sense. Y'all are probably sick of hearing me say that this doesn't work if you're coming to this series as season 2. There's so many references to things we don't see. Like, why name 4 things that somebody who is watching this as season 2 have never seen? Name at least a couple of things that they have seen so that they can feel like they're being a part of this story. Like, why alienate new viewers like this? If you want to cash in on nostalgia, just give us a fluxing Dalek. If you want to make it all brand new and fresh, make it all brand new and fresh and let new viewers enjoy it fully. Let them fully embrace it on their terms. I am so sick of this, like, dangling out references to things, like, at a cyclical rate so that they can cash in on nostalgia and member berries, and then pat themselves on the back for not using the monsters. Look, guys, at this point, the ratings need the monsters. I'm sorry, but, like, bring us a frickin' Dalek. You're gonna keep referencing them. You're gonna try to cash in on the member berries. Why not just cash in? Just give us a Dalek. Like, come on. What are we doing here? I've gone off the rails. Let's try to regain some sort of grasp on the episode we're watching here tonight. Before we get back into the barbershop, we should talk about the things that we passed through. There's a couple of set pieces, like I said. There's the marketplace, which looks amazing, and it's got a really cool vibe when the Doctor goes through it. And I really like the juxtaposition of how it looks when the Doctor goes through it, and, you know, people are like embracing him, and he's clearly a part of this community. He's come around, you know, people know him. And then Belinda comes through by herself and doesn't know where things are and is knocking stuff over and causing a ruckus. And even the way it's shot, it creates a cool contrast between the two. I really liked that. I liked the creepy back alley. I think that it could have used a little bit of breathing room, like a lot of these episodes, because I wish we could have sat with the missing people story before we immediately found them, which I get it. The Doctor was going to the barbershop, but, like, could we not have met one person? You know, could someone not have pointed us towards the barbershop? You know, could we have gotten something to like let that breathe a little bit? It just felt like there's people missing. Oh, you're the people missing. Like, it just was so fast. It's one of those things where I'm really feeling the runtime in these episodes. But then we get to the barbershop and things right away are tense, and I really liked the way they played with the tension in the barbershop back and forth with Omo and the Doctor, and building it up till eventually they come into conflict. The character of the barber is a weird one. He looks really cool. He looks like really well put together, even though he looks toned down. He doesn't look like garish, but he does look like maybe he's got some money to spend on clothes. And he's wearing, I feel like he was wearing rings. I can't remember if I'm just making that up. But he has like the wooden totem clippers. He's got a whole vibe going on. And I really dig it. I liked what they were like going for with him. Although I felt like they kind of took the piss out of him really early on, right as they were starting to build him up. You know, with everyone laughing at him. And like, I get it, because like he's trying to take credit for all these people, and the Doctor is saying like, oh, you're not all of these gods. I know the gods. And like, I don't know. I think that scene both worked and didn't work. It worked to make the Doctor look tough, but it didn't really. It took the steam out of the bad guy in a way that I don't feel like he ever really regained at any point in the episode. I don't feel like he ever got his footing back in a way where I felt like the Doctor was threatened by him. Obviously the situation was tough, but I never felt like he was threatening again after that scene, which was pretty unfortunate. And his plan, I don't really know that, like, I understood where they were going. I never felt the threat of immediacy. Like, where was he going to usurp the god? And I'm not sure that I get what his motivations were, where he was going, or how this whole weave story thing that he made works. But it just all seems very cannibalistic. Like, why, like, what would he gain from it? You know, like, if he destroyed the gods and there was this whole cataclysmic thing, he would have control of this web and what? And what? You know, does he not know that the people are going to be affected when the gods are gone? Or is he just not caring about that? Like, I don't know. His motivations were very murky to me. He felt very chaotic neutral, which, I mean, maybe that's cool. I don't know, but I was having a hard time relating with where he was coming from as a bad guy. And I think that scene where they laughed at him really took the piss out of him, and in a way that he never recovered from. There was also a couple of things that were going on that kind of threw me off a little bit. Like, for instance, I already complained ad nauseum about the whole Doctor telling Belinda's story thing. But on another note of that, when he tells the story, it powers up the engine. And they say, oh, we could power this on his stories alone. But I don't really get that, because I could see you could power it on his stories alone because he has so many stories. Okay, but it only got one story from him. Does the engine know he's got a bunch more? No. So that's not it. His stories are of crazy, amazing, wonderful, out there things. So, like, is it the exotic stories? No, because he told a story about Belinda. It's not his story. I get the point of, like, what the Doctor was trying to say is, oh, you think my stories are amazing? The most amazing stories are simple human stories. Okay, but everyone in that room was telling simple human stories for, you know, however many months they'd been trapped in there. So why does Belinda's story power the engine more? Is it just because the Doctor's a better storyteller? Because I gotta say, I thought Omo was a better storyteller, if I'm being honest. You know, maybe it's just because halfway through the story, like, the narrative was taken over by, like, just actually watching the scene play out. But I don't know. Omo's introduction to the story in the cold open, I liked that a lot. I really enjoyed that little bit of storytelling, that little bit of oration. So I don't know. I don't know why his stories in this context would feed the engine. It all makes sense, but in the way it's presented, it doesn't make sense, if that makes sense. In that middle part of the episode is where a lot of the action is, where a lot of the good bits are as well. I like the return of what the hell? He says, what the hell is this? Which is not quite like what the hell is going on here, but I like that the what the hell is a recurring thing for him. I think it's a good little tag, you know, like, instead of just doing 3 whats like David Tennant, a good what the hell goes a long way. And it hit there in the scene where everything is going to hell. The door busts open, they see the spider and all that, you know, everything's flying out the I guess the door, but it's also like an airlock because it's out in space. And the spider was really cool. I really like the concept of the spider crawling around in this web out in space. That looked sick. It was a sick concept. I got Wild Wild West vibes. I didn't love the, you know, if we're talking about WWWs, I didn't love that World Wide Web joke. And there was another one, Trolls on the Web. This has been a recurring theme this season of the internet is a bad place. Bad internet. Bad internet spaces. I don't know, man. Like, I get it. Last episode made sense because that went in with the themes of the story. But why is the internet bad for this episode? right? Because the World Wide Web has been great for storytelling. Look, I'm a printer, and print media is not as dead as people think it is, first of all. The internet didn't kill it any more than ebooks killed it, any more than, books on tape killed it. Everyone thinks that print media is going to die. The internet didn't kill it, and the internet is just a different platform on which to tell stories. We tell stories all over the internet, in all different forms. It's been really, really good for storytellers. And even people who tell stories in more traditional forms, they use the internet to get themselves out there and tell stories. So this persistent theme throughout this season of internet bad is really starting to eke me. And it's eking other people too. I've been watching a lot of other YouTubers talking about stuff and seeing people in various different comment sections. Not my comment sections. Y'all quiet out here.
Little things, but no voice.
Look, it's
But I've seen a lot of comments about stuff like this, the technophobia of Russell T Davies, and I gotta say, it's on full display in this episode, and it's sad because it's not necessary. And I know he didn't write this episode, which is what makes me think this is one of his punch-ups. Because, how is this getting into every single episode? Unless he's just got, a white letter to all the writers on the show to be like, oh, you gotta make sure you include these themes somewhere in your episode. But I don't know. It's starting to really get grating to get these all the time. I know it sounds like I'm just crapping on the episode. I'm really not trying to, because I did enjoy a lot of things about the episode. I really liked Abby, Abina, I can't remember what her actual true name was, but Abby, I liked her story and the way that it incorporated that into the plot with weaving a map into the Doctor's hair. I thought that was sick. That was really cool. I loved her story. I loved the way it presented that story. I loved the way it fed into the resolution of the plot. I thought all of that was really, really cool. I liked the Doctor's 5-word story. I thought that was really cool. It was really simple, and the repetition of it over and over, and using that to kick off an all-time all the Doctor faces moment. And there were some good references in the Doctor faces montage. My favorite Peter Capaldi speech gets referenced, which is great. I think Titanic, because I saw David Tennant in a tuxedo, so I'm pretty sure that one was one of the ones in there. But that was a really good throw. I always love those kinds of scenes. Sometimes they play off a little cheesy, but this one worked here because we're talking about storytelling, and this was it fed into the themes of this particular episode. And when it does that, it works a lot better. So I thought this one hit well. Maybe even better so than the one in Rogue, where all the heads kind of float around him. I think this works better than that. I think this is the first real one also in this series. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I missing another of these? Because there is the floating heads one, but I don't know if there was a video montage like this one since the Disney era started. I'm probably forgetting one. It's early in the morning right now. It's not even late anymore. But I'm having a hard time remembering if there's another one. Remind me if there is. I like how the episode resolves for the most part. The Doctor having too many stories and sending it onto overdrive. I mean, that's kind of that makes sense. That, like I said, that is the context in which the Doctor's stories overloading the engine makes sense. It didn't really make sense how they knew that right away, but it does make sense that that's where it would go in the end. But I was really, I don't know, I guess it all comes back down to me being confused about the bad guy's motivations and really where this whole story was going. I'm going to have to rewatch this one. But because it just comes down to, was he just not very intelligent? Did he not know the results of things? Like, the Doctor said things like, oh, it's going to throw off all these 7 billion peoples. And I just wondered, does he know that? Or even when he's saying, yeah, I'm going to disconnect the gods. And the Doctor's like, so you're going to kill the gods? And he's like, I'm removing them. So do you know you're killing the gods? And then Abby at the end refers to herself as a god. So, would that have killed her? Because he's like, oh, it would kill your father. I'm doing this for you. But she references herself as a god. I mean, she's a demigod, I guess, if she's the child of a god. But I don't know, man. There was, some really confusing, elements to this story that I had a hard time following. maybe I'm just silly and I'll laugh at myself watching this later, rewatching this video after I've had a chance to go back and take the episode in a second time. But I was confused by it. Like, what was the motivation of this storyteller to consume their own mythos? What would lead a storyteller to do that? Why would somebody charged with taking care of a very precious, a very sacred mythos, one which so many people rely upon, one which so many people put their hearts into, why would such a storyteller allow their ego to usurp their creation's divinity? Why would they try to take the godhead of the story which gives them relevance and take it for themselves? Why would someone do that? I'm not talking about anyone specifically, obviously. I guess just the character in this story, you know. I'm just talking about the character in this story. Why would this character do that? Confused about the motivations behind certain decisions. But all in all, I liked this episode. I liked the visual aesthetics. I liked the costumes, the fits. I usually try to put a section in to talk about the fits. I don't feel like I'm qualified to even begin talking about these fits. I was rolling over here. I thought they looked awesome, but I don't know. I don't have the verbiage. I don't have the nomenclature to say, like, what was that hat that Shooty was wearing? I don't know what that kind of hat is called, but he was pulling it off, you know? So I don't know. I don't feel like I can even begin to talk about the fits in this episode, but just know that, yeah, 10 out of 10 across the board. I really liked a lot of the costume choices in this episode. Lots of stuff to love. A lot of stuff to love. And maybe once I have a chance to go back and take in the story and understand the motivations of some of the characters and just characters, then I'll, I don't know, maybe then I'll feel differently about the resolution of the story. But, you know, I do like that it's a rehab story. We're rehabbing a villain. He's not a full-on bad guy, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe he really was just ignorant of how much damage he was going to do. And maybe we should be sympathetic to this guy who's just doing his best, I guess. And, you know, things got out of hand. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it there. I don't have any theories this week. I don't have any hot takes, really. This was kind of, I don't want to say this was a filler episode, but it was... yeah, there wasn't a lot of connective tissue into the deeper season, at least nothing that I caught, and nothing that I feel like speculating about. I think it was good that he wasn't one of the gods. I was going to be kind of annoyed if he was one of the gods when it started setting that up. That would have been maybe one too many gods for the season, especially if there's going to be another one at the end of the season. It was just like, the themes of gods runs throughout the season, and that's, I guess, okay. But I don't know. Maybe this does tie into the deeper thing, though, because if he's trying to remove the gods, would that have included the Pantheon of Discord, the gods of this season? And because he has left this infrastructure intact, but it was seemingly destroyed or disconnected from the spider that is traversing this web, could somebody else then take advantage of said web? You know, I've seen a lot of people floating the Mrs. Flood theory about her being the god of stories or whatever. I mean, maybe somebody has taken this infrastructure and is using that, like Mrs. Flood, to pop in on everybody's stories. I mean, okay, I said I wasn't going to theorize, but here we are. I'm just kind of freeballing right now. I didn't have anything planned. But yeah, I mean, because that spider got destroyed in a very goofy way, by the way. Can we talk about the scaling of that spider? I'll come back to put a pin in that. The scaling of that spider. It had the whole building on its back, right? Did I miss that? It had the whole building on its back, but then when the door was collapsing, the spider was crawling through it, and it was small enough to get through the door? And how did it get through the door if the door was on its back? Did it just, like, fold itself over itself? and push it. I don't know. That one's spacey wacy. That's not even timey wimey. I don't know. That's an interesting one. But right. So this web structure was just left unattended. The spider was destroyed, but somebody could still take over this infrastructure. And if it was an instrument meant for the divine, no mortal being's probably going to find this thing, but something divine could. So I don't know. It could be interesting to see if this ties back into the deeper story of the season. I don't know. I'm not putting a lot of money on that one. That one's just a freebie because it's the end of the show, and you stuck around to the end of the show. You deserve a little treat for hanging out. I'm gonna be back pretty early in the week. Hopefully, I'll have my next Who essay up on Tuesday. That's my goals, is Tuesday, Who's Day, but we'll see if I actually maintain that. I have a hard time keeping a schedule, but that's part of the reason I like doing these videos, is to, structure my creativity, because otherwise I end up with a whole bunch of unfinished products, little projects and crafts and paintings and just weird stuff. So the schedule helps. So I'm going to try to have a video out for y'all on Tuesday. In the meantime, I will see you back here next week to talk about the next episode for episode 6. Whoa, looking forward to episode 6. I've been talking about musicals. This is like a no joke music contest episode. So I'm stoked to see this one. I'm hoping to see Belinda sing, because I've seen Shooty sing. I'm wanting to see Belinda sing. I want to see if she's got them pipes. I bet she does. Because like I said, I bet they're building up to something big. But anyway, we'll see. Musical Watch 2025 is not over just yet. And I know that a few other people are watching along with me to see, where that's going to go. But anyway, I'm signing off here. Thanks for coming around. Be sure to subscribe if you're trying to check out the next video. I will be back soon.
Please be my friend. Be my friend. Be my friend. Please be my friend.